Hello everyone, welcome to Show Me O'Clock, and today we'll be talking about the NMC revalidation. As you all can see, we know the NMC, which is the Nursing and Midwifery Council, is the body that regulates all nurses and midwives practicing here in the UK. So this is just to explain, because once you register with the Nursing and Midwifery Council of UK, what you need to, after 3 years, you'll be needed to revalidate that you're paying. So that means there are some certain standards you need to meet up to within the 3 years of you holding your registration for you to renew your pin. So it's very important we talk about this because unfortunately I also came across a very funny tweet about how someone did not, you know, he had issues with his payments with revalidation, and then they sent him an email that his registration has lapsed. So if you don't do this revalidation, that means that your registration would not be valid. So what you need to do first of all is to log in to your NMC account. So you go to www.nmc online, or you can just search NMC online or NMC login, and then you'll be able to log in. So once you're logged in into your NMC account, for you that you're not close to revalidation or anything, once you log in there, you see a kind of a dashboard there that tells you, oh, this is your NMC pin. This is when the fee you're expected to pay, because we pay a either yearly fee, or you can divide it into quarterly fee to the NMC. So that's what they use for your upkeep of your registration. So you can decide to pay it once, that's £120, or you decide to pay it quarterly, that's 4 times in a year, that's £30 every quarter of the year. So it will also tell you when your revalidation is due. For example, my revalidation was due for the 31st of March. The NMC will tell you that your renewal should happen on the first of that month. So my renewal was to happen on the 1st of March. But because of reasons best known to me, I decided to start my renewal early, because this was my first renewal and I did not know what to expect or how many things I'm going to gather. So I started my renewal early. But with that, I was even able to complete my renewal in February. Do you understand? So once you log in, you will see your qualification and there is registration status. So that's what is very important, that from time to time we need to also look at it, because that's what tells you what's going on with your pin. Usually the NMC is really good at updating you with whatever is going on with you. They can send you text, they will send you call, they will call you, or they will send you emails. They are concerned about anything with your registration, they will send you an email. So if you have a green tick, that means your registration is up to date. You can practice, you're free to do anything with your pin, but just make sure to guard it very well. If it has this exclamation, yellow exclamation mark, that means you're on our registrar, but you have restrictions on your practice, or you've been issued a warning. So if you have that, you should also be careful. I think during my revalidation, it went into this yellow part because it was telling me that I'm due for revalidation soon. That means caution sign. If you don't, you move on to the next, which is like a stop sign that says your registration is currently lapsed, and therefore you cannot practice in the UK. So if your registration lapses, that means you cannot practice in the UK as a pinned or staff. So if you're a nurse, if you're a midwife, if your registration is lapsed, you cannot practice. And they would also inform your employer, or you also have to inform your employer, because you cannot do anything that requires you to have your pin. So if you have X on it, that means you've been suspended or removed from the registrar, and you are not currently allowed to practice. And if you have dash on it, that means your qualification is not registered, therefore you cannot practice in the UK. I think this last one was what was on my profile before I got my NMC pin. So if you are an international midwife, you'll be familiar with this. So moving on to what do they need you to do for your revalidation. So what you can see is few months, or should I say 1 month, I'm not really sure when the portal would really open, 1 month or 6 weeks before your revalidation would your expiry date, like that's the first day of the month your revalidation is expiring, you would see that they would, instead of that green tick on your status, it's going to be like a yellow exclamation mark, like an amber background, a white exclamation mark that is telling you that your registration is due for a renewal. So what you need to do is you need to scroll down to see where it says that your application is outstanding, so that way you can actually click on apply. So what I actually did was, instead of doing everything online first, I went on to print the templates which I downloaded from NMC website. So I'm going to leave the link in the bio. And the thing about NMC is that they trust you, like nursing and the nursing profession is one of the most trusted profession in the world. So they do trust you to do the right thing. So you have some criteria you're supposed to meet. For example, your practice hours, you need to meet 450 practice hours if you're renewing a single qualification, but if it is two, you need to meet them individually. You need to have written reflection, that's 5 written reflection in 3 years. You need to fill in the gap for your mandatory trainings. They want you to have at least, so you need 35 hours of your CPD, which is the continuous professional development program. These are like the courses that you take, mandatory courses you take, or your normal courses that you take while you are practicing for the 3 years. So it could be anything. It could be your prompt, it could be your saving baby's life, it could be anything. Most of these trainings you will see it under there that these hours of CPD are located. Another thing is you need to have your feedback log. This is where emails comes in. If you got a email from your manager to say, oh, you did well in this procedure, or you did good, that should be there. If you also receive the card from patients, you can also put that in. Things that would show that they've given you, things that will show that you've actually gotten some feedback from your practice. So what I used my appraisal, I used my feedback from colleague, because I was nominated as, I think, the gem of the month, or star of the month, or something. So I used that also, and the feedback that was written there. I got my an email feedback from my manager. I also added it there. A student also nominated me. I wrote that also there. And also, I think the last one I used was a card from the patient. So the feedback can be anything. Even if it's not good feedback, at least it's feedback. Any feedback at all is just going to do for that. Then the next one I did was my reflective account. So many people might have issues with completing that. And I think I've also done a video on how to do your reflection. So you can also go through that to help you well, because you need five. So all these things is not when you want to do your validation that you're supposed to be running around to get all these things. That's why I say at least every year you should have at least two reflection that you can easily take, because it's not only for yourself. When issues arises, these are the things that's going to stand up for you. So if you had a bad shift, you should write it down. If you had a good shift, you should write it down. If you felt somehow, someone talked to you anyhow, you can always write it down. It's good to practice, apart from this, apart from you it being something that you actually need. This is something that would help you in your practice, especially in a fast-paced world that everything just happens one after the other. I'll tell you that I used to think my brain was really sharp, but when I wanted to do this, I had to go deep into the reflections I have, the ones I've submitted to my manager, the one I've written in emails, the one I've written in books. Those were the things that really helped me. So I also wrote a reflection of my appraisal. It could be anything at all. It could be about an incident, it could be about a feedback, it could be about a training that you went to, it could be about anything that you think you reflected on, that you think is going to help you. The only thing is that you just need to link it to the code. how does it go with the code? Does it promote professionalism and trust? Does it preserve safety? Does it prioritize people? All those things. Does it make you practice effectively? Those are the things you're going to write. So the format is already there in the template. Another thing I would do is I would leave the link to the field templates that I found online on NMC website so that you can download it. Even if it's not something that you want to do now, just take a look at it. What is this person saying? How did this person fill our own form? This is the resources that is available for you online to check. So just read through it, and then you can now download a plain copy. When I was done with all of this, I went to meet my practice development team. Sometimes you can meet your inline manager, your ward manager, or anybody. But I chose to use my practice development team manager because she deals with practice development, and I was able to just approach her. So I approached her to say, my validation is due. Could you look through for me? She was like, okay, that's fine. So I submitted this to her. She read through. She had a discussion with me to say, okay, she has gone through my revalidation. We went through the reflective discussions together. The only thing she said was that I should document more of how I feel into my reflection because she saw that everything was perfect. The flow of events, I was able to say the flow of events, but how I also feel is one of the important things for me to document at that point in time. So that's also one thing that she talked about. So she gave me feedback from that, and we looked through everything together. So all the feedbacks I got, I made sure I photocopied them. I made sure I did everything, because the NMC will just ask you to that have you done this. If you've done this, just click yes, and randomly they will send people emails to just make sure you they will just randomly send you an email. So if it is you need to maybe submit your evidence that you've done your validation within a particular number of time. So that's why I always encourage people that get everything, because even the person that is doing reflective discussion, if you don't feel it, they will even do it because their own pain is also at stake. So I got asked to, so once she filled everything in here, because she's going to fill her name, she's going to fill her pin, she's going to fill everything. So she's also going to be tracked. So don't say, oh, this person is my friend. If you don't do well, or if you've not done it well, then the person's pin is also at stake. Do you understand? So we talked about everything and the short summary of the discussion she wrote in there, and she signed. Also, I filled in the confirmation form. She also filled it in, and then she confirmed all the requirement, like I said. So everything that we've talked about, like um, has she seen that as my hours complete, my checklist, she's signed she checked it, and then she has signed it. She's checked my revalidation, and that's it.